And welcome back to the Daily Dive here. Once again, I'm Michael Karvelis, filling in for our awesome host, Renee Washington, who will be back tomorrow. And I'm sure would have loved the guest on today's show. And one of us joining us now is current Mammoth analyst and former Mammoth player, Jamie Shewchuk. Jamie, how are you, sir? Welcome to the Daily Dive.
I'm doing great, man. Happy New Year. Excited to be on the show. Thanks a lot for having me.
No, thank you for making time for us. And you're right, it is a new year. Maybe that means more things for the Mammoth. We'll have to see. But let's jump right into those Colorado Mammoth, or Canadians like to say Colorado. The defending champs are the Mammoth, obviously. And game one, they let's be honest, they flat out got blasted by the Saskatchewan Rush. The addition of Rhys Duch later on then obviously helped as the team then was able to hold off Panther City. So how did Colorado turn around? Was it just adding Rhys Duch? What had to go right after what kind of went wrong in game number one to you?
Yeah, I think great question. I think anytime you can call it the championship hangover kind of thing. These guys, you're missing Ryan Lee still. Eli McLaughlin's back in the lineup, but I know they had a good training camp. I remember talking to a few of the boys, and they're pleased where they were. Definitely didn't expect what happened in game one there. I watched the game myself live, and I was just almost chuckling because it's one of those things and I'm sure head coach Pat Coyle said, same thing I was thinking was, guys, we got to write that one off and be better. So I think that's the kind of way you got to look at it. I think they also came, Saskatchewan's got something to prove this year. 100%, Jimmy Quinlan, taking over the reins there, and he's been a stagnant with that organization, I think, since from day one when they were in Edmonton. So good to see him there. I know he's going to have those guys motivated. So I think that was another factor too. Is Saskatchewan was just dialed in, and they, I'll steal a Tyler Pace quote here, blew the doors off of them, in game one there at home. But I think, I talked to Dylan Ward. I talked to a couple of guys on the team, and, that's what it is. It's like, wow, boys, we were bad, but this is a veteran team. And, clearly you saw they ended up having a week off there, and then they were back playing against Panther City. And you could just tell, just watching that game that they were back to that championship, that veteran presence. And, I think it's one of those things they didn't panic. It's game one. They knew they were bad. So it's good to see him come back and down against a very, very impressive Panther City team these last couple seasons.
Yeah, Panther City has been kind of grimy, I noticed, because they played the Rush, and apparently Rush wasn't who I thought they were, as I mentioned in the last segment, maybe. Really quick, back to that second game. Well, back to the first game, really, and I hate to harp on it, but you mentioned that you were chuckling because I'm sure a lot of people were like, "These guys just won the championship." But then you see in the Rush when they played Panther City last week, it's like maybe the long layoff for a sport that has guys who do have regular jobs and do have other things to do besides play NLL. How much do you think that played into it? And you think it's, I guess, easier in the NLL to just, okay, that sucked, but let's go get it next time.
Yeah, I think it's one of the NLL is such a unique league. The fact that, like you mentioned, guys have other jobs, and it's such a grind. If there's one thing, I definitely miss the game, being involved in the locker room, but I do not miss the travel and what these guys go through. And flying from Victoria, and you're flying, across. There's no direct flights, so there's a lot of variables that go into it, and every team deals with it. So, I think everybody, they look at, Calgary didn't have half their bags last Friday, and, we're barely able to practice. And guys, so it's like, those are factors a lot of fans don't really see. And, so I think, though, you don't want to make excuses. So I've never been on either side of a, if you get a week off, does it affect you or does it not? I think just the nature of the NLL, these guys are so mentally strong,
Right.
going through the travel and, what they need to do during the week to take care of their bodies and take care of their families at home or whatever their other responsibilities. So, I've never really got into the whole layoff thing being an advantage or disadvantage. I think it's a level playing field. And like, again, these guys are so mentally tough, playing this game now. So I don't really think it's a huge factor. If anything, for the Mammoth, they're able to just hit the reset button, and they're so calm. I've been around Robert Hope, and his presence there is just he is a true leader and a true captain, and he's got that calm, and head coach Pat Coyle's like that. Same kind of thing. He's going to hammer you when needed, but he has faith and ultimate trust in those guys.
I love that. I love it. The mental toughness. I think that's a thing that goes kind of over people's heads when talking about athletes, but these guys are obviously really good athletes, and mental toughness is part of the athletic thing. So let's get to Rhys Duch now. When they added him, some people made videos like, "Oh my gosh, they're panicking," but really, they're just kind of like piling on to what's already a good team here.
Yeah.
Like it helps. Obviously, the offense was not great in Game 1, but that could also be like just the long season layoff. So, what do you think Rhys Duch does for the Mammoth immediately and long term, really, as well?
Yeah, if you look at the Mammoth offense last year when they were rolling, when everybody was still healthy, and unfortunately you saw Ryan Lee go down in the playoffs, and then Eli McLaughlin go down there in the final series. So their two biggest point producers, and Ryan Lee was having one of the best seasons I've ever seen a player have in this league since I've been watching last year. So it's really a bummer. They definitely missed him, but the way they rebounded and were able to figure it out and end up beating Buffalo. Which obviously is not an easy task. It was really impressive there. So yeah, Ryan Lee, I don't think he's going to be ready. Maybe February, March, what I'm hearing. So they needed, what I found watching Game 1, they were missing that off-ball feeder on the right side. Just the way Zed Williams plays and just kind of the dynamic. They're definitely missing that feeder. So I played with Rhys Duch. My game was not a give me the ball, I'm going to run around a guy. I was better off ball, and I love playing with Rhys because he's always looking for the lefties. And so I think that's something that Rhys Duch, we obviously know he's got 2 championships with 2 different teams. This guy's a warrior, and he's been in the league since 2009. It's one of those things where you're getting not only what he does on the floor, and sure there's questions about his injuries but this guy I talked to him this morning, and he's telling me his routine today, and I don't even know what it was called. One of those ice chambers he's going in for his body. He's taking care of himself, and he wants to play. And he said, when I called him after he got signed, I was really excited that he's finally coming to Colorado, and we're going to meet up and all that stuff. And that's one thing he said. He's like, I want to go out on my terms. I got hurt and stuff, but I still think I'm capable. And of course, he's in a practice there. He was able to have a couple practices on the bye week. And, he said he wasn't putting on pressure to go win the first 10 minutes of practice. It was just ease in and get a feel. And, he and I both agreed it's, you don't lose the scoring touch. I'm confident I can still go score goals. I just can't keep up anymore. And that's one thing that, so Rhys has to figure that out. And, I asked him, he's been on 2 championship teams. What was it like going to the Mammoth locker room? And that chant, and he said you could tell why they won, and just how close knit they are. Like, it truly does feel like a family. And going back to the head coach Pat Coyle, he's all about that, and Robert Hope, it trickles down. So you get that vibe, and so Rhys said he's welcomed, and of course, but again, not only what he does on the field, it's what he does off the field. This is presence. He's going to outwork anybody in the gym. He's going to outwork anybody throughout the week to prepare. And he's a winner. He wants to win. He's highly competitive, and so I'm excited to see him. He's definitely done some damage against the Mammoth in Ball Arena. So this is his first home game. I'm sure he's excited to put on the number 10 with the Mammoth jersey. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play in Ball Arena. I think he's going to have a big game.
I'm sure we all are. And you're right. Chemistry does matter. That team locker room feel. And I love that you mentioned he wanted to go out on his own terms. Athletes got a lot of pride. They got a lot of pride, and sometimes that's the extra push that they need to maybe take a team like the Mammoth over the top again. This weekend, there was a long holiday break. We know that. And tell us the formula for Colorado Mammoth to beat the Calgary Roughnecks, who look pretty good with a good goal minder and some nice pieces on that side. Tell me what's the perfect formula for what's going to happen if the Mammoth are going to win this game.
Yeah, there's no doubt that this matchup is amplified. I think anytime Colorado is hosting Calgary, there's a little bit more intensity level. I know going back to our days in the playoffs, they had our number for sure, and so it's always a battle, and everybody loves coming to Ball Arena to play lacrosse, whether you're a visitor or you're the home team. So I think it's magnified. Calgary had a tough loss last Friday against San Diego. I watched that game, and listening to head coach Miloski after, just kind of break down the game, you can just tell, they're going to be ready to go, and they're so well prepared. Coach Miloski has that team very well prepared, and they're a new team, right? They're Rhys Duch was there in 19. You got Dane Dobie's gone, Curtis Dixon's gone. So they're a young team, fast, well coached, and of course, I think what's going to come down to is the goaltender matchup between these two teams. Now, to answer your question, what's the game plan for Colorado? I mean, they just need to stick to what they do. I think when they're rolling, and you can see the confidence in the back end when Dylan Ward's playing and Joey Capito's breaking down that far end, and you get the transition involved, and I think the key is the goalies are going to do what the goalies do, but I think the both offenses need to get inside and really test both of these goaltenders as much as they can. But it's going to be a fast, physical, hard-hitting, maybe high-scoring. I don't know. Again, with these two goaltenders, it might be a low-scoring game. But again, I think the key is for the Mammoth offense just to continue that chemistry, keep that ball hot, but get inside and get Del Bianco moving.
That's a great point about goaltenders, and I've noticed that in the NLL. That's a good thing. When you start attacking them inside, you start peppering them, as I like to say. It's going to be an interesting game. And also, he said, take the over. I'm kidding. No, thank you, Jamie, for all that you do for lacrosse. And have a fun time watching the Calgary game. And we look to have you on the show again, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Have a good rest of your day.